Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Flying high. The Maggid of Mizrich, second Hasidic master, the successor of the Baal Shem Tov, was once visited by a friend of his. This is a friend who knew the Maggid before he got involved in Hasidus, before he joined the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, and he came to see his friend. As he comes in, it was after a long travel, and it wasn't. He didn't live nearby. He hadn't seen him in a long time. He came and he said, "How could I see the Maggid? Could I go in and have a talk with him in his office, in his study?" So the attendant, the shamish, said, "You could, but after he finishes davening, after he concludes his prayers." Okay, I'll wait around. How long could prayers take? Morning prayer today, half an hour. How long could it take? So he waits. Half hour goes by, an hour goes by. He's ready to go in, and they tell him not so fast. He didn't finish. He's still davening. It took many hours when he finally got in to be able to talk to his old-time friend, if you will. And he couldn't contain himself, and he says, "I don't understand. I also daven, and I also use kavanas ha'arizal, which means Kabbalistic intentions, thoughts, and it doesn't take me so long. What are you doing for so long?" So the Maggid didn't answer him, but he said, "What do you do for a living?" He says, "Me, for a living, I study Torah all day. My wife, she runs a little shop, and she sells stuff, and that's how the family makes a living. I study, and once a year, however, I travel to Leipzig. Leipzig was where the big marketplace was. I travel there, and I buy merchandise. It takes a couple weeks, more than a couple. I come back, and then we have enough stuff to sell for the whole next year." So the Maggid says, "I don't understand. Why do you have to go to Leipzig? Why can't you just have kavanah, have some intentions? Think about going to Leipzig, traveling there, going through the different vendors, loading up on merchandise, packing up your wagon, traveling back, all the stops on the way." And then he says, "Reber," that was the Maggid's name. "Reber, I don't know. You don't get it? You're not going to, you have to actually go there." So that's the point. There's these big ideas and kavanas or rizal, the thoughts that we may have. It's all beautiful. But you have to go there. And it takes me time when I daven, he says, to go through all of the special stages and the Kabbalistic meanings and which, quote, spiritual worlds, as we'll soon see, we go in. It takes time. I can't just show up. I can't just think about it. I actually have to climb through these things, all these worlds that are described in the teachings of the Arizal and in Kabbalah. I have to go there, and it takes me time. Our Parsha talks about Korbanis, more specifically, the initiation of the Mishkan. It's the first day when it's for real. And as we learn more and more about Korbanis, it makes us wonder, how is that relevant to us in our lives? Torah is not a history book. It has a lot of history, but it's not a history book. It's not just a book with instructions or laws, because it has that as well, but obviously it's supposed to be a relevant guide to us, how we live our lives, based on those laws, based on teachings, based on what we learned from our ancestors. But it's telling us how to live. And we spend so much time learning about Korbanos, about offerings, sacrifices, and these services that took place in the temple. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash today. How are we supposed to understand the application to our own lives of all these Korbanos? We just learn it. We hope and pray and await a time that we'll have it again. But right now, we don't have it. And how could we apply it? So Chazal tell us, our sages tell us, that tefillah b'makom korbanos tiknum, prayer has been established instead of sacrifices. Today we don't have a temple. We don't have the ability to bring offerings. How do you connect? How do you talk to Hashem? How do you express yourself? That's done through prayer. It's done through davening. This is something which we do 3 times a day. We have the idea of prayer. It's through this process that we connect. The idea of prayer being a substitute or a exchange in place of davening, in place of karbanes, in place of offerings, has to be understood. Just because we had karbanes, we don't have it now, so then we say, okay, that's it. Like bring daven instead. How is it connected? So davening, karbanes have in it 2 aspects. A carbon has the idea of going up and the idea of coming down. What's the idea? Going up is like this. I'll tell it to be a little quieter. Thank you. The idea of karbanis is going up and going down. I'll give you an example. A carbon, what happens to the actual animal? You have to elevate the animal. The animal is on the ground, and you take it up the ramp to the Mizbeach. It's down, and it's being elevated upwards. That's the idea of an elevation that takes place by a carbon. In addition, you have, obviously, spiritually, that the animal gets elevated. It's a mundane physical animal. And by using it as a carbon, it now becomes spiritual and holy, and it's special. That's the element of an offering that has elevation to it. It's being lifted. It's going from the ground level to the altar level, to the Mizbeach level. Then you have another component to the carbon, and that's milmata l'mayla, from above to below. Okay, the animal was lifted up. What goes down? Wine is poured down special holes by the Mizbeach, and it goes down to the Tehim, to the abyss. It just pours down. So you had the going up, and you have the bringing down. The carbon has both of these aspects to it. This is the idea of davening as well. It has the up, and it has the down. When a person prays, he's elevating, and he's bringing forth something. There's going upwards and there's coming down. The Zohar says, what is the idea of tefillah? What's the idea of prayer? It's the dream of Yaakov. When Yaakov is running away from his twin brother, Esav, and he stops off to sleep for the night, we all know he had a dream. And in this dream, he sees a ladder. The bottom of the ladder is on the ground. The top of the ladder is in the sky. And on this ladder, there are angels going up and angels coming down. And the Zohar says 2 words, da tzleisa. This is prayer. The angels going up and the angels coming down, the upwards and the downwards, this is what tefillah is about. This is what prayer is. So just like a carbon has the concept of going upwards and coming down, because you take the animal up the ramp and the wine gets poured through the holes, which is the descent that's happening, tefillah, prayer, has the same thing. It goes upwards and it goes downward. That's the whole idea of a ladder. It gives you the opportunity to climb up to a plateau, a level that you otherwise can't get to. It's too high to reach. You go up this ladder, you go through these particular steps, and you're able to get there. Going down is the same idea. You're able to climb down. This is all these things happen by tefillah, by prayer. And this is why the Arizal, he divides the davening, the beginning of davening, in 4 sections. And I want to take a moment and look at our davening that we have and see how are these the steps in the ladder, and how does it take us, how does it bring us upwards? Okay, so number 1, the idea, first section of davening is called Haidu, acknowledgement. I recognize that there is a Eibishter, there's a God. I may not be so in tune with it. I may not be so connected to it. This may not be exactly how I'm thinking and behaving every moment, but I do recognize that there is a Eibishter, there is a God. It starts even before Haidu. It starts even in the very first prayer that we have when we wake up in the morning. What is it? Maida'ani. I'm acknowledging, I'm grateful, I'm recognizing that Hashem restored my life. Some people don't wake up in the morning. Not because they're tired. The idea is that step number one and stage one in the davening, in the process of elevating ourselves and going higher, is through acknowledging. I may not be there fully. I'm not fully connected with it. It's not permeating my whole existence, but I do acknowledge it. How you do?
So what's the difference between Modeni and Hoyo?
They're different, but I'm just talking about the similarities between them. They have the acknowledgement part. It's a gradual process. When a person says Maidani in his bed, and the Hasidic custom is that we don't even put our feet on the ground. It's the very first thing we do. You say Maidani, you just woke up, you say Maidani already. Your first words, your first expression upon waking is thank you Hashem. That's how you start your day. It's brought in Chassidus that one word, the first word that you say in the morning has impact on the rest of the day. It's a starter. It's a opener, and has a very strong effect on how the rest of the day will go. Make sure it's positive and it's optimistic and it's joyous because it's important. But this idea of acknowledgement, stage number one of davening, of going up the ladder, is recognizing that there's Hashem and recognizing that that's how it works. The second step is Psukei de Zimra. After we say Baruch Sha'amar and we're praising Hashem, now we're not just acknowledging that Hashem exists. Now we're singing praises. Now we are in a level where we actually are excited on some level about God's impact on the world and the fact that Hashem is sustaining everything, and the fact that when we say it throughout the Psukei de Zimra, that section of davening, we talk about the concept of Hashem, his involvement and his care for every creature, and his making sure that each one has everything they need, and so on and so forth. Secondly, it's the idea, thirdly, is the Brichas Krishma. This is a level where we're getting ready to say Shema and the Shema, and this is an area where it's a little more than just acknowledgement or even singing with it. This is talking already about angels and their involvement in praising Hashem. You're inspiring yourself to the level that certain things that are very, very spiritual that you're talking about is affecting you. You're flying a little bit higher, if you will. This is the concept where it says that the first stage of davening is asiya. You're in the physical world, the way we know it, and you're acknowledging that there is an Eibishter, something is above, something is greater. Then you have the next level, where it's the idea of Psukei de Zimra, of praise. That's Yitzira. That's already a level where it's a little bit higher, it's more spiritual. You're praising, you're singing, but there's even higher than that. That's number 3. That's when you talk about malachim, srafim, greater levels of angels. And then you get to Shema, where you're bringing out this dedication to Hashem. As it says in the Shema, you love Hashem with your whole being. Everything you're ready to give for Hashem. That's a level that's considered to be the third world up, and that's Bria. Or in the teachings of Chabad Hasidus, it's the idea of machshava, it's the world of thought. You're getting to a very, very deep connection there. But the fourth world that we come to, that's the world of Shemona Esrei, that's the world of Atzilus. In Atzilus, it's not that I connected to something, it's not that I just acknowledged, it's not even that I'm excited about it, it's not even that I'm lost in thought about this relationship and this bond that I have with Hashem, but it's Atzilus, it's that spiritual world where I'm so united, you can't even differentiate. There's me that is connecting with something greater. It's so one. I identify so strongly with Hashem that it's who I am. It's me. It's a connection that's so strong, it doesn't have that differentiation. It's even greater than the way angels relate to Hashem, because when by angels there's a malach, there's an angel, and then there's the way the malach connects with his praise to Hashem, his acknowledgement of Hashem, his service to Hashem, but there's the angel. He looks like it's his own entity. When you get to the world of Atzilus, which is expressed by the stage of davening Shemona Esrei, the Amidah prayer, when you're there, you're so involved that it's just you and Hashem. That's why when we daven Shemona Esrei, you don't say the words out loud. You say it barely audible, that you should be able to that you're saying it. It's not just thought. Because you have to say when it comes to prayer. But that's there. That's the level.
So why there is request in that level?
Oh, very good. So you're asking, I'll just repeat it for those that are watching, you're asking a question, if it's so connected to Hashem, it's so real, then why are you asking for personal requests? Personal requests means you feel yourself, and even though you're standing so connected with the king and you're talking to Hashem, and you're on that level of Atzilos, you are feeling that I have needs, I have certain requests. What about this and what about that, right? One of the explanations is that the whole point of going up there is to be able to connect and bring it into practicality. And we don't lose focus of that. At the same time, we're getting to this in order to daven, right? The reason why we're doing this is to connect to Hashem and ask Him for certain things that I should be able to serve Him better. It's not for a selfish purpose. This is a question which is asked regarding Rosh Hashanah. Why are we asking for personal needs in Rosh Hashanah? If you're crowning Hashem as king, you should be completely selfless and just focus on Hashem. Here's Hashem, this is what He wants, and I'm here, I'm yours. But then you come and say, give me a good year, and you ask for this, and you ask for that. What happened to this dedication? What happened to this selflessness? And the answer that's given is that when we turn to Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, and this is the way it should be in every prayer, and we ask for personal needs, it's for needs with a purpose. We're asking for something with a reason. It's not just, I want to have fun, or I want to enjoy myself, or this is good for me. We're doing this because we want to be able to do what Hashem wants. We're coming to the king and saying, give me those tools. Allow me to serve you. Allow me to be able to fulfill my mission in this world. And when a person asks for health or for wealth or for success, it's not doing it because he's selfish. He's turning to Hashem and he's saying, I want to do what you want for the purpose of you. Help me do it. It's a similar question we have. How come we know a principle that Hashem does whatever He tells us to do? Okay? He practices what He preaches. If in the Torah Hashem says a certain mitzvah that we have to do, He does that mitzvah as well. Okay? In some kind of spiritual level, but He does that. He's not a hypocrite. He doesn't tell us to do something and then He Himself doesn't do that. Okay? What's a very important mitzvah we have in the Torah? If you have an employee, you have to pay the employee the same day that they do the work. Okay, unless you have an agreement with them that you're going to pay them every 2 weeks, every week, every month, whatever your agreement is. But you have to pay your employee the day they do the job. You can't just tell them, sorry, tomorrow, maybe next week, whatever. Hashem has us working for Him, right? He said we're going to get reward for all the mitzvahs that we do, all the things that we do. But our sages tell us, look around, not everyone's getting so rewarded, or so it seems, right? They're doing the right thing. Where's the reward? How come good people are sometimes not having a good life, or so it seems? What happened to Hashem? You said you have to pay your worker every day, and what do you tell us? The reward's going to come in Gan Eden, in paradise. A person will go on to the next world. That's when they're going to be rewarded. That's not today, hopefully, not for anyone with God's help, right? You're not going to heaven today. So why are you saying that Hashem is going to reward you in a different world, or after 120 years of living, or when Mashiach comes? What happened to the rules? You're demanding from us, Hashem, that we should pay our workers every day, on time, unless you have an agreement that you do it weekly. And even then you got to do it on time, or monthly, or whatever. And there's people that are working, serving Hashem for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. They're not paid. You're telling us to do something, you're not doing it. And the answer is that there's a mission here, a purpose, a broader project. If you hire a worker and you say, build me a house, you don't have to pay him that day. You pay him when the house is complete, right? You don't have to pay him every single day for the job. You say, I'm paying you to build me a house. When the house is completed, I will pay you. Hashem wants a better world. He wants a mission to happen in this world. When the project is completed, that's when He pays. So He's not violating his mitzvah to us, where He says, I want you to pay your employees on time or the same day when they work. Because if it's a project-based type of work, if it's a contracted bigger thing, and then when that's done, that's when you pay. What the Rebbe says is a very good explanation. However, it's not enough. Nonetheless, the person building the house for you will come to you and say, "Look, you don't have to pay me, but I have to go to Home Depot and buy the stuff. I need the supplies. I have to go buy your cabinets. I have to put in the flooring. I have to paint. I have to pay the electrician." It's not payment to me. That's expenses to do the job that you want. You can't expect me to do a project for you or work for you and not give me the tools I need to do that. You don't want to pay me till later? That's fine. When the job is completed, you'll pay me. We turn to Hashem, says the Rebbe, and say, look, you want to pay us at the end of the project? It's your business. It's fine. But in order to do the project, we need food. We need clothes. We need a place to live. We have to have all of the abilities to be able to do the job. So we tell Hashem, yes, you don't have to pay me today, but give me the tools that I need. So that's why we're turning to Hashem and we're asking Him for needs. It's not for our own needs, for ourselves, or for some selfish reason. It's in order to be able to do what Hashem wants. I want to live a life the way Torah intends. In order to do that, if you're not well, it's very hard to do it. Okay, if you're worried or stressed out, it's very hard to do it. We learned this parsha about the laws of kashrus, kosher, right? Kosher food costs money. Okay, you want to do kosher, you have to have the food to do it. You want to give your children a Jewish education, you have to be able to pay for it. It's not public school. But whatever the concept is, if you want to do mitzvahs, you have to have the means to do it. Now, don't wait till you have the means to do it. But ask Hashem, and when you ask Hashem for it, you're asking Him in a way that it is not for you, but it's in order to be able to serve Hashem. Okay.
And
Well,
if you don't get it, then what?
Don't give up. Well, let's get back to our Shemona Esrei. So a person goes up the ladder. First section of davening is the world of Asiya, where he's acknowledging that Hashem exists, but he's not so connected with it. The next stage is praising, Psukei de Zimra. It's the world of Yitzira, where he understands and he's excited about Hashem's involvement in the world. He's still his own entity. It's more than acknowledging, he's excited, but it doesn't come to the third world, which is Bria. The world of Bria, that's already a world of preparations to Shema, blessings of Shema, the actual Shema, whereas Machshava, you're connecting to Hashem in a world not just of emotion, but also in thought, where you're connecting, you're thinking. It's part of, in a way, who you are. And then you come to the fourth world, and that's the world of Atzilus, where you're so united with Hashem, you become so one that you don't even tell that there's a difference. There's me, there's the lover, and there's the thing or the person that you love. In this case, there's Hashem. There's me, and there's my feeling towards something. In Atzilus, you don't have that. In Atzilus, you can't differentiate between the godliness and the angels or creations or whatever it may be. That's a high level. But that's not the point. You have to bring it down. How do you land from that level? Right? You have to be able to take it to the rest of your life, of your day. Excuse me. Thank you. So, Chassidus tells us that in davening we have a process after davening. Don't rush through the davening. There is more to it. After Shemona Esrei, we have the going down of the ladder. What happens by Ashrei Uvolitzion? When we say that section of davening, we're saying Kadesh, Kadesh, Kadesh. That's holy, holy, holy. We're talking about what the angels are saying when they praise Hashem. We just did that by the blessings of Shema. That was the world of Bria. That was the world of thought. That was the world where we're connecting to Hashem on a level which is more than human. It's transcending to the world of angels. You're coming down from Atzilus, which is Shemona Esrei. You're coming down into the world. You're going down into the world of the angels, so to speak. But in the Volitzian, we say it in Aramaic as well, not just in Hebrew, because we want to translate it into a world, into understandable language. So we're bringing it down. That's a Volitzian. Then we come further, and we talk about Shir Shal Yom. Every day of the week, it's a beautiful thing that we have. Every day in davening, we sing a section. We say a psalm, which is the psalm that was sung in the temple on that day of the week. There's a Sunday song, a Monday song, a Tuesday, and so on and so forth. Singing is the same world as praise that we have on the way up in davening. Psuke de Zimra, Shir Shel Yaim, the praise is also the same idea. We're not in the world of thought anymore, but we are excited, we are happy, we are praising on the way down. What we're trying to do is take that spiritual inspiration and bring it down to us. Then you have the next tefillah, the next prayer is Kaveh and Ein Kelekenu. What's Kaveh? Noide lelekenu. I'm acknowledging. That's the idea of Haidu, right? I'm not we're already coming down. The same way we went up, we're going down those stages again. Tzilus, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, till finally we come to this back to this physical world. Now, so this is the idea of Ein Kelekenu is the world of Asiya, where there's me and I acknowledge that there's God. The fact that you're acknowledging there's God means there's two separate entities. There's me and there's him. And I acknowledge that he exists. Let's go down even further. Now we have the final tefillah, and that's the prayer of Aleinu. It's an interesting prayer. This was a prayer which was established by Yeshua bin Nun, the one that actually brought us into Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu's successor, Joshua, he established this prayer of Aleinu. Now, the prayer of Aleinu is very interesting. In every single prayer of the year, we always finish with Aleinu. It could be a Shachris, it could be a Musaf, it could be a Kippur, it could be, doesn't matter. We finish with Aleinu. Okay? Why is Aleinu or we have Aleinu in there? Why is it so important? Even when we sanctify the moon, we say Aleinu. Aleinu is the prayer which talks about the uniqueness and the separation of us from the rest of nations, of someone that worships Hashem and those that worship idols. It's the understanding that we have to live in a higher standard. We have to remain holy. And before you go into the world, you're davening, right? You just went up all these spiritual levels and you climbed up the ladder and you connected to Hashem and you were singing and you were connecting, you were thinking and you felt one with Hashem. And then you're coming down gradually. Now you're going into the big world out there. You close your prayer book and you get out into the street. What happens now? Can I still remain holy? Can I still remain spiritually sensitive? Can I still make the right decisions and feel as inspired as I was during davening? Right? It's one thing to feel holy and spiritual while you're praying. But once you get out there and you're actually dealing with people and with the world and with choices, temptations, decisions, then maybe it's not so easy anymore. You don't feel that inspiration anymore. Now you have to take something from within yourself and say, I got to do the right thing. Where do you get that from? So that prayer of Aleinu is that closing prayer which says, remember, let's praise Hashem for the connection that we have with him, for the fact that we don't worship idols, that we have that spiritual sensitivity, and so on and so forth. And this is why Yeshua chose this tefillah, why he established this prayer to the generation that was leaving the desert and going into Eretz Yisrael. What's the difference between these two lives? Living in a desert, we know the Jewish people had man that came down from heaven. Didn't have to go grocery shopping. I don't mean the effort of the shopping. I mean the paying the register. Okay, you don't have any bills to pay. You're in a tent surrounded by clouds. Okay, there's no mortgage. There's no electric bills. There's nothing. What did you do all day? You prayed. You studied. You explored this Torah, and you connected to God. All that ended when you got into Eretz Yisrael, into Israel. Now it's regular life. You got a section of land. You have to work that land, plow, sow, plant, everything you have to do, produce, sell, deal, all these things. We're not going to sit and study 24 or every waking hour of a day. We're not going to be able to pray and think about God the entire time so easily. Getting into a world. And here's where trouble begins. Here's where it's not so easy to be spiritual in a physical world. So Yeshua says, I want to give you a prayer, Aleinu. I want you to acknowledge and remember that. Don't take off your yarmulke when you go into the street. Don't say my spiritual life remains in the shul and now I'm gone. But the whole point of going up that ladder of prayer, just like the korban that went up, the Mizbeach was to be able to bring something down in this world. You can't just take the spirituality and say, oh, it feels so great. And then, okay, we're closing this now, next experience. No, it's about bringing that experience with you. Transcendence is not about leaving, it's about bringing it in. This, by the way, is similar prayer to what we have, the idea of Havdalah after Shabbos. Right? We make a special prayer. Well, what's this idea of Havdalah? You're separating between the holy and the mundane, the Shabbos and the week. It is. You're separating and differentiating. This is the day of Shabbos, and this is a regular day. Perfect. However, there's more to it. You're allowing a transition which helps you take the holiness of Shabbos, those feelings, that inspiration, and bring it with you into the rest of the week. That when you're in your Sunday, don't feel, it's just a Sunday. But treat it with the same clarity that you have on Shabbos of what's right and what's wrong. Don't get lost in the hustle and bustle of the week, but the prayer of Tefillah, just like the prayer of Aleinu, the closing prayer of davening, allows us to do that. Similarly, Havdalah allows us to go from Shabbos into the week. There's a story about the Alter Rebbe. After he got married, he was at a crossroad. He wanted to advance his studies. Where should he go? There were two main centers. He could go either to Vilna, where the Vilna Gaon was, and that was known to be a center of learning. You could really learn how to study. Or the other center was the Magid, Mizrich, where we mentioned him at the beginning of the class, the successor of the Baal Shem Tov. And over there, you could really learn how to pray. The Alter Rebbe said, I know how to learn a little. In his humility, that's what he said. Prayer, I could really use a lesson in prayer. So he went to the Magid. And as we know, the rest is history. He became not just a student, but a successor of the Magid. And obviously teaching so much about the idea of prayer and how not just how to pray, but how to take that prayer into our lives. So let's do a similar thing. Let's look at Chassidus and use it to show us how to daven. And how to daven means not just how to go up that ladder, but how to come down and bring it into our day-to-day life. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful day. And all the very best.
Yeah.